Hey everybody, welcome to Koali Beach Park. This is a park which I'm gonna work on in Planet Coaster, and it's gonna be a bit of a tropical Southeast Asian themed park, but I'm not gonna work on this alone. I'm gonna work on this together with Keralis and De-Lady-signer. Guys, introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, it's Keralis, and welcome back everybody to the next episode of Planet Coaster. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy. In today's episode, we're gonna build like an entrance building, right, Sylv?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So anyhow, I don't know what to say. Hey everybody, it's gonna be amazing collaboration, I guess. Like I'm with two of the best in the little field of this game. So I mean, I myself is like the meh, but you guys are amazing. So I mean, you're gonna just carry me throughout this whole series, I guess, right?
I just wanna say your intro sounds even better in real life, even live. It's so good.
Yeah, I totally agree on that.
My intro.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And by the way, you are gonna rock this as well.
Nah, but you know what? You know what I'm gonna do?
it.
You know what I'm gonna do? There's an amazing blueprint option. So I'm just gonna like, oh, that's a nice like roof. So I'm gonna just blueprint that and copy that to my building. Oh, look at what I've made out of a million pieces. So it's gonna be pretty amazing. But anyhow, I'm done with my introduction. I'm just here for the fancies. Hi.
Time to pass it over to the De-Lady-signer.
Hi guys, I'm the De-Lady-signer, and I started playing Planet Coaster since the 1st of April in the alpha stage. I really love Planet Coaster, and what was that?
I think that was Keralis.
Let's just continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was
I'm just so hyped about this. I'm sorry.
So I'm from the Netherlands as well, just like so Fred, and wow, I'm just looking so much forward to this collaboration. I think we are gonna make the most brilliant park ever made.
Hell yeah.
I totally agree. It's gonna be like a maze balls.
Oh yes, I'm so much looking forward to it. So can you tell a little bit more what we're gonna do?
That's a very good point. So the way that we're gonna do this, right, is I'm gonna record the first episode right now, just do a time lapse of making the entrance building and a bunch of scenery around that. And then after that, for the next week, I'm gonna give it over to the De-Lady-signer. She's gonna work on her part, and after that, she gives it over to Keralis. He's gonna work on his part, and then we just close the loop and keep going like that. So each week we get another video on one of our channels, and we're gonna put this all into one big playlist. But basically, you're gonna have to subscribe to these guys because they make awesome Planet Coaster videos, and if you want to stay up to date to what's happening in this entire series, you kind of want to subscribe to every channel, see what's happening, and see how everything's kind of updating, because you'll be able to see what everybody else is adding to the park to, in the end, make this one complete awesome haul of tropical goodness.
I think it's good to mention that we're gonna upload our videos on Saturdays as well.
Very good point. Yeah, we'll be uploading it. You keep reminding me of everything now. I need to forget.
Saturdays.
Yeah, we're gonna upload this every Saturday, so it's gonna come out once a week. So the first Saturday, obviously, it's gonna be in my channel because that's the video that you're watching right now. Next Saturday, it's gonna be on the Lady's channel. The Saturday after that, it's gonna be on Keralis' channel, etc. And that's how it's gonna work out. And as for the theme of the park itself, it's a little bit vague. It's a bit like a Southeast Asian theme, and it's mostly inspired by that area. It's just going to be a tropical kind of thatch roof, tiki hut, very nice and mellow sort of theme like that. So we'll be working a lot with these different thatch roofs and creating this sort of tropical vibe with all of the palm trees and the scenery. And that's what we're going for, and hopefully it'll turn out into a charming and cozy, inviting theme park atmosphere.
Oh, I'm so much looking forward to build. Seriously, it's really
I can tell, it's great.
Good. Like the entrance you have made now. Oh my gosh,
Thank you.
So beautiful. I can't wait.
So
I see it.
Yeah, this is how it's gonna work out. I'll be seeing you for the rest of this video. I'll just talk alone. I am sorry. I'm gonna have to leave these guys.
Are you gonna leave us?
Why?
Yeah, I am so sorry. I'm gonna talk about what's gonna happen in the time lapse alone, and so is going to be the rest of this series pretty much. So I'll take you through the rest of this video. This was just the quick introduction.
No.
I am very sorry to leave you guys behind.
No.
I'll see you soon.
Go.
Don't worry. But yeah. I'll be taking you guys, you viewers, through the time lapse and the creation of this station. So let's say goodbye to the De-Lady-signer and Keralis for now.
Thank you so much, guys, and I hope to see you in our next videos as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me for a few minutes. Bye. I guess. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hope everybody enjoys the video and the series. And yeah, good luck still.
Yeah,
Awesome.
good luck.
Thank you. I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, now I'm afraid you guys are going to be stuck with me for the rest of this episode, which is in line with the format as it's going to be for the rest of this series as well, because we just wanted to talk about what's actually happening on the screen as you're seeing it and what we're doing, and I feel a little bit bad about this because I haven't really said anything yet about the entrance that I'm building here, even though it is pretty important because it's kind of the prototype of what the rest of the park is going to look like. It's quite simple actually, it's a bit generic and it's not very pinpointable to any certain given style, which is because we wanted to make this quite a generic, very broad style which a lot of things can fit into, so that all the three of us could actually sort of do our own thing and not have to assimilate too much to what the other players are making, while still as a whole making everything come together as one, hopefully coherent park in the end. And because of that, the style is sort of broad so that a lot of different things can fit into it, and we don't have to take realism or like real life counterparts too strictly when it comes to what we're building here. But it is very inspired by a bunch of different real life things, which is mostly just one thing that I was nerding over. It's got a lot of inspiration coming from Southeast Asian architecture. You can probably tell by the thatch roofs and the shape that they have with their sort of triangular gables jutting out like that it's quite a bit of Polynesian inspiration. It also takes a little bit from like Indonesian temples in the shape that the building is laid out, minus the little tower on top of it. And in similar ways there are just many of these smaller parts and sections of this kind of style that are taking inspiration from like real life styles, but nothing is strictly taken from anything in real life. So it's just a general tropical sort of vibe that's supposed to have this very summery beach hut sort of atmosphere to it, and we're just gonna play around with that. From me personally, actually, it takes a lot of inspiration from some of the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 sets, like Polynesian Panic and Jungle Things, which, if anybody remembers, I'll explain for those of you who haven't played Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 that religiously. They were basically sets with thatch roofs and a lot of wood to create these sort of jungle, southern sort of jungle huts or beach huts, that kind of stuff. And that's what this general style is going for as well. Also, a very quick note, you might have been able to tell that my voice isn't actually that great, which is something that I can't really help. I've been having a cold ever since the beginning of this week, and I was well into my cold actually when we recorded the part with Keralis and the De-Lady-signer a little bit earlier, but at that point it was just sort of still a sore throat, and now my entire head's just been sort of closed up for a couple of days, which is why my voice might not really be as decent as it usually is. And in case it is super annoying to listen to, I am sorry about that. I tried to do some stuff about it, so I just came back from practice and my head just sort of opened up for a little bit, and I'm trying to take this window to just record this video in the best way that I can. It's just a bit of a bad timing because we're on a deadline with this thing, and I would normally just push out videos until I can record some decent commentary again, but there's no such thing at the moment. Anyway, just to come back to the station a little bit, so it's got that inspiration from the Indonesian temples in terms of how it's laid out, and I just put that tower on top of it because it seemed like a fitting thing. It's something that you very often see on theme park entrances, and in that sense it's a bit of an American sort of thing. I almost feel like a little tower on the front, just on top of the gate where you enter the park. It's just that little theme park touch which makes it look like an entrance building and not just like any building that you can pass through. So that's a little addition that I wanted to add there. And then there are the wings of the building, which I'll add in a minute, but first I wanted to finish the plaza in front of the station, or the entrance building, and it's quite simple actually. I just wanted to put a bunch of planters on the sides of the path here just to kind of prevent it from being this very large open wide plaza, which just ends up feeling very empty and not as atmospheric as I wanted this entrance to be. So I put a lot of planters down there so I could put a lot of palm trees and other trees in there. And then sort of just filled in the gaps with some benches and lights, which, to be honest, it might sound very stupid, but whenever I have like some very large stretches of path left over and you don't really know what to do with it, but you can fill it in with a sort of area where guests can sit about and just relax, it usually works quite well to just add some benches, some litter bins and some lanterns in there, just to lighten up the mood a little bit, make it come to life a bit, but also fill in the emptiness. And I don't want to be too much like you need to fill in every single spot of your park, because you can definitely not really appreciate how filled in and charming some areas are if some other areas aren't more open and less detailed. But especially with areas like this, where I really wanted to make a nice atmospheric entrance into the park, which already kind of sells you on the general atmosphere that you're going to feel inside the park itself, I really wanted to just make it as cozy as I could. And one of the things that I also wanted to do to create that was my weird little experiment right here that I just figured out of the blue would be a pretty cool idea if it would actually work, is a park entrance sign. Now, I built the posts a little bit earlier just there with a couple of wooden items, and I eventually gave up because I didn't really like any of the signs in the game. I really wanted the letters to go along with the wooden arch that I have over here. So we'll be coming back to that later. I didn't mean to make this a cliffhanger, but when I was playing the game I just figured, nope, we're gonna do the wings of the building first, and then we're gonna head back to that part. So that's why. And over here I was actually making a bamboo fence at first out of different planks to make like round bamboo posts, which actually does work quite well. It does have a very similar texture and shape to it. The only issue is that it takes a complete buttload of planks, and it would have definitely caused some lag issues at later stages. And I remember Keralis telling me that I needed to keep my ridiculous amount of detail lower so that we wouldn't run into frame rate issues later on during this series. So I eventually just ended up making that a simple wooden plank fence, which works alright all the same. I actually think it might be a little bit better, since the detail of having these planks be round is just maybe too much. You don't really notice it that much, but it's still a bamboo kind of sort of fence, and I hope to maybe do a bit more with the idea of creating bamboo out of the wooden planks and seeing wherever that's really useful. Now, just finishing up the wing buildings, which I wanted to do this in a time-saving manner and not spend too much time on this. And also, since the central building of the station, or I keep calling it a station, I have no idea where that's coming from, but since the central building of the entrance is already symmetrical, I also wanted to make the wings more or less symmetrical. They're not actually going to be exactly symmetrical. I did want to get some slight differences in between the windows and the doors and the placements of the details, just to make things a little bit more interesting. But in terms of how they're laid out and the roofs that they have, they're going to be the same. So it's one big, cool, symmetrical entrance building, I suppose, and that's the way that this is going to work out. So just creating one of the wing buildings on the side here, which are going to be quite small, but sort of function as this wall to shield off the rest of the park from the vision as you enter the entrance here. So you're really going to step into the park at once. I didn't actually put any sort of like stalls or information kiosks in these buildings. I could have done that, but I was thinking that a couple of planters on the paths that I have on the entrance plaza are actually going over the paths, and I was very afraid that adding shops into these buildings would create paths for the guests to walk around, in which they just walk straight through the scenery, which is why I ended up not placing any shops or anything in these buildings. I might mess around with this a little bit more in the future. Just place a shop in there and see if the guests are actually going to walk straight through my scenery, which I placed over the paths. If not, I suppose that's just a great little addition to the park, but if they are, that's just sort of a shame, and we can just leave these things be useless on the back. I mean, these buildings aren't really that important in the end. They're just sort of here to provide additional supports to the side of the station and make it look a little bit more like a cool large station as you... Oh my god, I just called it the station again. Oh, wow. Anyway, yeah, the entrance. The entrance. It's just gonna make the entrance a bit larger. And, well, the entrance does fulfill a sort of weenie function in the park. It's gonna be some sort of large building since it's at the end of this very large avenue, and you want something that attracts the guests and really draws them toward the entrance and into the park. So I wanted to make something that's quite big and this sort of wing that fills up your entire vision as you walk toward it. So that's why we're having some wings on the side here. Now I didn't want to leave them completely undetailed, so I did put these couple of planters as well as some other scenery in here. I'm actually quite a big fan of how the rocks turn out. I didn't really talk about it much so far, but one of my favorite things to do in the game still, and it's only been getting easier and better as the game has developed over time, is to make your custom path curbs and path fences. You just get one simple roof piece, just kind of sink it below the ground, so you actually have an official building according to the game, and then put the different items that you want to make your curb or fence out of together and copy those around until you really have what you're looking for. And it works with these kinds of rock curbs since it sort of has that tropical touch to it. It also makes the entire look of the path a little bit less monotonous, but also it works with fences. Just make one part of a fence and copy that around to make some custom fences. You can do it with a combination of both, definitely. And I'm actually doing it a little bit more over here. So I'm sinking that little roof piece underneath the ground so you don't really see it anymore, and putting a bunch of different wooden posts together to make a very simple fence. And it's definitely a super simple fence. I could have taken one of the fences from the game itself. Like there is a wooden fence, there are some different sort of rope fences as well, but I actually wanted to do this kind of thing to have a much larger variety and give the park its own unique kind of fences, because I'm actually a pretty big believer in the fact that these small path details like lamps and fences and benches actually have a lot of power as to how a certain scene looks, and having the same kind of lamps and benches and fences everywhere just kind of kills the entire mood or unique feeling that you might be going for in a park, which is just why I'm personally a very big fan of making things like these custom, even if the pre-given ones in the game are already really good. Anyway, speaking of good things, and this is one of the things which I'm actually really happy with how it turned out in the end. I wanted to make the sign in front of the entrance right here, which is quite simple actually. It's made up of a bunch of wooden brackets. I realize that I'm calling everything simple at this point, but it really, in concept, it is very simple. Just putting a bunch of wooden brackets together as letters. And one of the things which has been made super easy recently is that you can actually take different pieces within one building, so long as they're not grid spawning pieces like walls or roof pieces, and move them around at the same time using the 3D gizmo tool, which means that you can make separate letters inside your building, not even putting them where you eventually want them to be, and then when you're done making the letters, just kind of fit them into place, which is exactly what I did with this sign. Just made some separate letters and afterwards fit them into place on the sign where I wanted them to be. And this kind of thing would have been a lot harder with the older systems where you couldn't do this 3D gizmo trick, and it's one thing that has really helped making buildings not just a lot faster, but also a lot easier. It's given a lot more options, and it's definitely something that I want to take advantage of a bit more and experiment what you can actually do with in the future. Now, finishing up the final touches of the entrance area over here. I'm not recording absolutely everything. There are some parts that are left out, especially at the end of this, but there are still some things that I wanted to show, and one of them was actually detailing the paths right here, which is just putting the lamps and the benches and everything down. And again, just to get that atmosphere that I was looking for, I had the in-game lanterns as a placeholder right here before, but I actually wanted to have some bamboo light holders in the center of the path, because it's quite a special place. It's the place where everybody's gonna walk, and it's the kind of place where I wanted to have special lights, and in this case a combination of some bamboo posts as well as some smaller details and some hanging lanterns, which you can actually make out of different pieces that come with the game. It's all super customizable. I actually decided to make these kinds of lanterns and just post those between the benches where I used to have just the in-game lamps before, and pretty much shove the in-game lamps to the edges of this plaza, because I still wanted to have some lights at the edges, but I didn't really want to go for the special sort of decorative lights which I have over here. They're more of just a functional light, whereas the lights in the middle of the plaza are much more than just bringers of light in a sense. They're really trying to add to the atmosphere of the plaza as you walk into the park. Now, very finally, some of the terraforming and the foliage work around the edges of the path, which was actually relatively quickly done, but it's one thing which really dictates how the rest of the entire plaza is going to look, so I wanted to get this just quite right. And with a combination of the different grass textures, you can actually prevent sand textures from going in certain places, so you can kind of direct the sand as if it were moved by the wind in certain streams. So that's what I was sort of trying to do there with the different areas with sand and grass, and then after that fill in the area with some tropical looking trees, a little bit of shrubbery here and there, especially around the trees, though not as much straight underneath them, and some palms and ferns just to outline them and give them that little bit of a tropical touch. But I didn't want to do it too much, especially since the palm trees and the ferns can be quite overbearing if you're using a lot of them, which is something that I might get into later as well. But especially in this kind of climate, you don't want to end up making a palm tree forest. Instead, just kind of use them in planters and use them as highlights around other patches of foliage that you have. Anyway, that's just about it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and I hope to see you guys in 1 week perhaps on the De-Lady-signer's channel when she's gonna pick up the park file and go from here, or in 2 weeks on Keralis' channel when he's gonna work on it, or perhaps in 3 weeks when I get it back from Keralis and I can do some more work on the park. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you later.